Hello and welcome back to the podcast. My name is Heather Monthi, and this is the podcast Strong Body, Strong Mind, Balanced Life. It's the show for high performers who are ready to reclaim their energy, rebuild their strength, and rise with purpose. So, if this is you, this is the podcast for you. So, what I wanted to do is this is our first episode for May 2025. You can listen to these podcast episodes whenever you would like. If you're listening to this in May of 2030, it's totally okay. But what I do is a theme for each month based on one of the yamas or the niyamas within yoga principles, or even outside of the yamas and the niyamas. Basically, a theme that comes from a yoga principle. So you don't have to be somebody who goes to yoga classes or anything to enjoy and learn from this podcast, but I do pull a lot from yoga philosophy. And today's or this month's theme is move with intention. So this is thinking about all of our movement with our body, with our mind, with our breath, with our focus, with our energy. It's thinking about all of the things that we're doing, being intentional about it. And, I've been saying it like, what kinds of things can we say no to? So, really focusing here on just being, stopping the scatter, moving with intention. Okay. So, today's episode is Move with Purpose. Let's talk about why mindless action is draining your energy. Okay. So if you feel like you've been doing everything right, you're working out, you're leading your family, or you're leading a team at work, or maybe both, you're holding it all together, but you still feel off, you feel tired, you feel like a piece of you is just missing, or it's just unbalanced. It's not, something's not right. Okay. And I want you to know that you're not alone. You're not broken. You might just be moving without intention. Okay. So today, what I want to do is, again, let's talk about how to stop the scatter, how to start moving with purpose in your body, in your decisions, and in your leadership, whether it's in leadership of your own life, leadership of your team at work, in your business, or even at home. Okay. So let's talk about this, because the truth is random action drains energy and intentional movement restores it. So let's get into it a little bit. So think about how you feel like you're just all over the place. You're being very reactive throughout the day. You feel like you're ping-ponging between putting out different fires, and you know how to work hard. Like, you know how to get all the things done. You know how to do that. Okay. But that's not necessarily the problem. The problem is that constant movement, that constant motion without direction. Okay. So it's, what is the purpose for this? Why am I bouncing back and forth between these things? Why am I playing whack-a-mole on all of these things? What is the overarching direction here? Okay. So that's not leading you to your own power. That's leading you to burnout, or if you're not already there. Okay. So there's a concept in yoga called brahmacharya, which is the wise use of energy, or conserving your energy for the things that are important. It's about knowing when to push, and it's about knowing when to pause. Okay. So let's focus your energy where it counts. So, I used to be really super hustle culture, right? And I don't believe in that anymore. I don't feel like you need more hustle in your life. You need more clarity. You need more purpose. You need more focus. You need more direction. What is the overarching direction? Okay. What is it that you're trying to get done from the larger vision? And I get it. Like, there's just certain shit that has to get done every day. You got to go grocery shopping. You got to pay the bills. Like, there's all that kind of stuff that you've got to do. But thinking about that from the focus of, or the perspective of, this is leading you to the higher vision here. Okay. So when you find yourself in that moment, in that day of sort of just whack-a-mole, putting out one fire after the other, and, the first step there is recognizing that that you're just in that moment. Okay. And the second step is to ask yourself, am I acting from alignment, or am I just reacting? So if it is the latter, if you're just reacting, take a breath, recalibrate, and choose your next move on purpose. Okay. So sometimes letting go is a power move. Sometimes we're not tired because we're doing too much. We're tired because we're doing too much of what isn't ours anymore. Think about like some of the different roles in your life that you play that maybe you've outgrown that particular role. All right. You have responsibilities in your day. every single one of us does. We have responsibilities that we never chose. That was not an option. It was we were told this needs to get done, or out of our own sense of obligation, these are responsibilities that we know that needs to get done. And we might have habits that maybe they were, they were helpful at one point, but now they're starting to hold us back. They're holding you back from the things that you want to do. So you're not moving there with intention. You're doing things that maybe you've outgrown, things that you've never chosen to do, or things that are holding you back. And that's where it's really just sort of this resistance comes in, where you feel like this shouldn't be so freaking hard. But it is, because you're not necessarily moving with intention. And that's where satya, or truthfulness, comes in. It's radical honesty with yourself about what needs to stay and what needs to just go. All right. There's certain things I just made a huge decision last week about a certain thing. It was taking up a lot of my time, and it wasn't necessarily aligned with where I want to be 5 years from now. So I had to say no to it. Okay. So really being truthful about what needs to stay and what needs to go. All right. And this ties in really beautifully with one of the yoga sutras about strength and ease in movement. And we talk about finding steadiness and ease in your movement, your mind, and your life. So when we're thinking about things like yoga poses and you're doing the asanas, that they're not forced. They feel steady. They feel balanced. We sit in ease. Okay. So when you're rooted in truth, you don't need to force things. There's always that saying, like, if you do what you love, you won't work a day in your life, right? Like, but there's always crap you don't want to do, okay? But it's that same saying here, like when you're living in your intention, you're doing the things that are aligned with who you are and who you want to be. You don't necessarily need to force that work. So I want to give you a takeaway here, is to let go of one thing that's no longer serving you. And I've talked about this before on my podcast. You've listened to it before. I've said, like, one strategy I always give is look at your calendar and what can you cancel? What can you delegate? What can you say no to? All right. It might not be something this week. It might be something 6 months from now. What really stresses me out is when you go to the hairdresser, you go to the dentist, you go to the thing that you need to schedule another appointment 6 months later. Who knows what they're doing 6 months from now? That stresses me out to have that on my calendar. I do it, but now I know in the back of my head, I got to arrange my life around that. Okay. So, but maybe that's one thing that I need to let go of. It's no longer serving me. I just need to let go of the fact that, you know what, they're trying to run a business and they want to make sure I come back in. Right. So let go of one thing that's no longer serving you and replace it with one small action that aligns with who you're becoming. All right. Who is that person that you're becoming or that you want to become? And what is it? What is that thing that he or she does that maybe you're not doing right now? And just do it. Just add it in. So letting go isn't a weakness. It is a strategy. You're not weak. You're not lazy. You're leaking energy through overcommitment, shallow breathing, and chaos. So bringing in a little bit more yoga here, the pranamaya kosha, it's the energetic body. It teaches us how we breathe and move. It either restores us or depletes us. Okay. So you don't necessarily need like a reset button, maybe a reset ritual. What is that thing that you do to just kind of reset your energy? What are the things that you might like to do? You might even be doing some of these things now. You get up in the morning, you like to have a cup of coffee in peace and quiet, or maybe a cup of tea. Maybe you do some silent breath work. Maybe you go for a walk without your phone, or maybe your phone's just put away and it's, not doing anything. So every morning, think about something that you can commit to take that's just 5 minutes of intentional movement. So again, we're moving with intention. What is that intentional movement? And it's not necessarily moving your body. It's moving your energy, your focus, your breath, whatever it might be. Okay. So you might do some breath work. You might do some gentle stretching or walking outside without your phone. Or maybe, like I said, I like to keep it with me because you just never know, but maybe put it away, turn off your notifications, put it away in your pocket. Build that habit of plugging your energy leaks before you pour yourself into the world. All of these things that are just pulling you in 1,000 different directions, those are just energy leaks. And we want to plug those leaks before you pour yourself into the world. So if you want a strong body and a strong mind, that's, the name of this podcast. So I'm assuming you probably do. The saying about putting on your oxygen mask first, in an airplane, that is so true here. You need to lead yourself first. If you want that strong body, you want that strong mind, really focus that intention on leading yourself first. And it's not with perfection. It's with structure, with intention, or follow through, or I should say, and follow through. Like really, just pay attention to that. And so santosha is another word that we might use for contentment. It reminds us that we can act from grounded confidence, not panic or scarcity. Okay. So just being content, being focused, being grounded will help us to lead ourselves first versus, just panicking, reacting, or leading from, that moment of scarcity. So you don't necessarily need to earn your rest. You deserve your rest, right? You need to practice alignment. Fill your calendar. If you're going to fill your calendar, fill it with things that are aligned with your intention, aligned with your vision, with the things that you want for your life. So again, we're going to give you another takeaway here. I'm going to give you another takeaway here is to anchor your day with non-negotiables that reinforce your strength. Okay. So we talked about just taking 5 minutes to create a reset ritual. Maybe make these things non-negotiables. These are things that you do. Think about the things that you already do in your day that are non-negotiables. What are some of those things? You brush your teeth, you get ready for work, you brush your hair, you take a shower. These are certain things that you do that are non-negotiables, and they get you set up and they get you ready for the day. What are some additional things that you can do to just make sure that you are moving with intention throughout your day? That you are setting clear boundaries, that you've made a decision that aligns with your intention. It doesn't need to be anything fancy, just consistent with what it is that you want, consistent with what it is or who it is that you want to be. Okay. So that's it for today's episode of Strong Body, Strong Mind, Balanced Life. I'm going to leave you with this thought. Strength is built through consistent effort over time. And every small step you take adds up to a strong life. You certainly do not need to do it all at once. You probably won't do it all at once. You just need to show up one choice at a time, one day at a time, one baby step at a time. So if today's episode resonated with you, share it with a friend who's finding his or her way back to his or herself. And make sure to go to heathermonthie.com/free. Okay, so I just updated that site with all of my free stuff. I have so much free stuff for you guys. Again, I make content on YouTube specifically about yoga, fitness, nutrition, and mindset. I've got freebies for just about everything there. All right. The podcast is the freebie on mindset. I've got a download for a macro and meal planning guide. I've got a yoga kickstart guide. I've got some corporate wellness information. There's so much crap on there. I have so much crap. It's actually labeled free shit on my website. So that's my personal blog is heathermonthie.com, MONTHIE, heathermonthie.com/free. Go there, check out all the free stuff, grab whatever is resonating with you at this time. I've made those resources for you to just help you in your journey. So I will see you next week. Until then, stay grounded, stay focused, and move with purpose.